You check your blood pressure. Sometimes it's normal, sometimes it's high, and you have no idea why it keeps changing. You think about the stress from the week, the extra salt you may have added to last night's dinner, that restless night where sleep just wouldn't come. You search for a logical explanation, a clear cause, and you never quite find one. Because the real cause runs deeper than the salt on your plate, deeper than the stress of one bad day. And the solution? It's also simpler, more concrete, and more within your reach than you ever imagined. It lives in what you eat every single day, not in what you avoid, in what you choose to add. Hello, I'm Dr. Pierre Martin, nephrologist. The kidneys and blood pressure are intimately connected, and what very few people truly understand is that your kidneys are the master regulators of your arterial pressure. They control the volume of fluid circulating in your bloodstream. They produce hormones that either dilate or constrict your blood vessels. When the kidneys suffer, blood pressure rises. And when blood pressure stays elevated too long, the kidneys suffer even more. It's a vicious cycle I witness every single day in my department. And that is precisely why I know, better than almost anyone, what protects your arteries, what cleanses your vessels, what gives your heart the ability to beat with less effort, less strain, less struggle. Today I'm going to share with you what I teach my hypertensive patients and those at risk. Specific foods, clear mechanisms, and a true story that will show you that change is absolutely possible, even after years, even when you thought it was too late. Stay with me until the very end, because the last food on this list, the one nobody suspects, is the most powerful of all. Let's start by talking about what is actually happening inside your arteries when your blood pressure is elevated. Because understanding the problem is the key to understanding why certain foods are so extraordinarily powerful in solving it. Imagine your arteries as flexible, elastic tubes. Tubes designed to expand when blood flows through them and to contract to maintain pressure. When these tubes are healthy, they are smooth on the inside, supple, responsive. Blood flows easily. The heart doesn't have to strain. Pressure stays stable. But over the years, through inflammatory eating, chronic stress, lack of movement, certain medications, these tubes change. Their inner lining, the endothelium, becomes fragile. Small inflammations take hold. Oxidized LDL cholesterol sticks to these inflamed zones like adhesive tape on a wound. Plaques form. The tubes stiffen. Their inner diameter narrows. Blood has less space to flow, and to push the same volume of blood through narrower, more rigid tubes, the heart must push harder. Pressure climbs, that is hypertension. Not a mysterious dysfunction, not an inevitable genetic fate for most people. It is the measurable consequence of a chronic inflammatory state in the arteries. And that inflammatory state can be changed by what you put on your plate every single day. This is why certain foods are so powerful against hypertension. They don't act like medications that artificially force blood vessels to dilate. They act on the cause. They reduce inflammation. They nourish the endothelium. They help arteries regain their natural elasticity. They progressively dissolve the deposits that clog them. This is a fundamental difference, and it's the reason these foods can do something no medication can truly do. They treat the root of the problem. Wait, because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you look at your own kitchen forever. I'm asking you to stay focused because every detail matters. Before I give you the list of foods, let me tell you about Marguerite. Marguerite was 60 years old when she came to my department for a kidney follow-up. She had been hypertensive for 7 years. She was taking 2 medications for her blood pressure, and despite those 2 medications, her pressure remained unstable. Some mornings it was normal, other mornings it was alarming. Her cardiologist was considering adding a 3rd medication, and Marguerite, a pragmatic, determined woman, a former mathematics teacher from Bordeaux, came to see me with one direct question. "Doctor, is there something I can eat to make my blood pressure more stable? Because the idea of taking a 3rd medication deeply bothers me." I love that question. It is the right question. Not how do I avoid medication at all costs, but how do I give my body the tools to work better? I took the time to look at her diet in detail, and I saw something immediately striking. Marguerite was eating very little potassium, almost no dietary magnesium, very few omega-3s, and a significant amount of hidden sodium, not table salt she was consciously adding, but sodium concealed inside industrial soups, hard cheeses, and ready-made meals she had been buying for convenience since her children left home. Her diet wasn't bad in the conventional sense. She didn't eat fast food. She didn't drink soda. She was careful about fats. But she was missing precisely the nutrients her arteries needed to recover their elasticity. And she was consuming daily quantities of sodium that kept her vessels in a state of permanent tension. We made a gradual adjustment, not a revolution, an evolution, week by week, food by food. 6 weeks later, Marguerite came back to my department with her blood pressure notebook. She placed it on the desk with a small smile I've learned to recognize, the smile of someone who has seen something change. Her morning blood pressure had dropped by an average of 14 systolic points over 6 weeks, without changing her medications, without adding a 3rd pill, solely by changing what she put on her plate. Her cardiologist was surprised. I was not, because I've seen this story repeat itself dozens of times in my department. The arteries respond to nutrition, quickly, concretely, measurably. Here are the foods I recommended to Marguerite, and that I recommend to all my hypertensive patients and those at risk. Food number 1, garlic. Garlic is perhaps the most documented food in the world for its effects on blood pressure. It contains allicin, a sulfur compound that is released when you crush or chop garlic, and that acts directly on the angiotensin-converting enzyme, the very enzyme that certain antihypertensive medications block. Garlic does this naturally. It dilates blood vessels. It reduces arterial stiffness. It decreases platelet aggregation. The rule to maximize its effect is simple. Crush or chop the garlic and wait 10 minutes before cooking it. This resting time allows allicin to fully form. 1 clove of raw or lightly cooked garlic per day is a simple but extraordinarily powerful daily habit. Food number 2, beets. Beets are rich in natural dietary nitrates. Inside your body, these nitrates are converted into nitric oxide, a chemical signal that tells the walls of your blood vessels to relax and dilate. Nitric oxide is one of the most powerful natural vasodilators your body produces. A glass of fresh beet juice or a portion of cooked beets can measurably lower systolic blood pressure within just a few hours. For Marguerite, roasted beets in the oven 2 to 3 times a week became a simple and genuinely delicious habit. Food number 3, dark leafy greens, spinach, arugula, Swiss chard, lamb's lettuce. These vegetables are a natural nitrate powerhouse, even more concentrated than beets in some cases. They are also rich in potassium, a mineral that is absolutely fundamental for counterbalancing the effect of sodium on blood pressure. Potassium acts as an antagonist to sodium. It helps the kidneys eliminate excess sodium through the urine. It relaxes the walls of blood vessels. And the overwhelming majority of hypertensive people are chronically deficient in dietary potassium. A generous portion of dark leafy greens every day is one of the most effective gestures you can make to naturally stabilize your blood pressure. Food number 4, walnuts, and in particular, English walnuts. Walnuts are exceptionally rich in alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3, and in L-arginine, an amino acid that is a precursor to nitric oxide. Omega-3s reduce inflammation in arterial walls. They improve vascular flexibility. They lower triglyceride levels. A handful of walnuts per day, about 20 grams, plain, without added salt or sugar, is a daily investment in the health of your arteries that you simply cannot afford to skip. Food number 5, fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, herring. Fatty fish are the most bioavailable source of long-chain omega-3s, EPA and DHA that you can find in food. These omega-3s reduce systemic inflammation, lower triglycerides, improve endothelial function, and contribute to reducing arterial stiffness. Robust studies show that consuming 2 to 3 portions of fatty fish per week is associated with a significant reduction in cardiovascular risk and better blood pressure stability. For those who don't enjoy fish, canned sardines in olive oil are a simple, affordable, and highly effective option. Food number 6, extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is the cornerstone of the Mediterranean diet, the most scientifically documented dietary model in the world for cardiovascular protection. Its polyphenols, and in particular oleocanthal, have anti-inflammatory properties comparable to certain low-dose anti-inflammatory medications. Its oleic acid improves the composition of the cell membranes lining the arterial walls, making them more supple and more responsive. 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil per day, used raw on salads or added after cooking, is one of the most protective dietary habits you can possibly adopt. Food number 7, dark chocolate, over 70% cacao. Dark chocolate contains flavonols, and in particular epicatechin, which stimulates the production of nitric oxide and improves vasodilation. Serious research shows that moderate consumption of dark chocolate, 20 to 30 grams per day, is associated with a measurable reduction in blood pressure in hypertensive individuals. Important note: it must be over 70% cacao. Below that threshold, the concentration of sugar exceeds the concentration of flavonols, and the beneficial effects disappear entirely. Marguerite particularly appreciated this recommendation. Food number 8, ground flax seeds. Flax seeds are one of the most concentrated sources of plant-based alpha-linolenic acid and lignans, phytoestrogenic compounds that have shown beneficial effects on arterial flexibility. They must be consumed ground, not whole. Whole, they pass through the digestive system without being absorbed. 1 tablespoon of freshly ground flax seeds added to plain morning yogurt or evening soup is a simple gesture whose effects on blood pressure become measurable within just a few weeks. Food number 9, colorful berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, cherries. These fruits are concentrated in anthocyanins, the pigments that give berries their deep, intense colors. Anthocyanins protect the endothelium from oxidative damage. They reduce arterial stiffness. They measurably improve blood vessel function. A handful of fresh or frozen berries every day is one of the most delicious and most effective gestures on this entire list. And now, Food number 10, the one I promised you, the one nobody suspects, the one that is nonetheless the most powerful of the entire list. The 10th food is water, plain, ordinary water. And I can see you smiling. Water, that's it? Just wait. Let me explain exactly why. Chronic dehydration is one of the most frequent and most underestimated causes of hypertension in people over 60. When you are short on water, your blood volume decreases. To maintain the pressure necessary for circulation, your body triggers a compensation mechanism. It constricts blood vessels. It retains sodium. It activates the renin-angiotensin system, the very same system targeted by certain antihypertensive medications. Blood pressure rises. And after the age of 60, the sensation of thirst naturally diminishes, which means you can be chronically dehydrated without ever clearly feeling thirsty, without ever making the connection between your lack of water and your rising blood pressure. Marguerite was drinking about 1 liter of water per day. For someone her age and size, she should have been drinking 1.5 to 2 liters. This chronic fluid deficit kept her vessels in a state of permanent contraction. We simply increased her daily hydration gradually. A large glass of warm water first thing in the morning upon waking, a glass before each meal, an unsweetened herbal tea in the afternoon. And this single change contributed significantly to stabilizing her blood pressure. Water is not glamorous. It has no marketing. Nobody runs commercials for plain water. But for your arteries, for your kidneys, for your heart, proper daily hydration is just as fundamental as any medication, and it is completely free. I also want to talk to you about what needs to be reduced, not eliminated. Reduced. Because the anti-hypertension diet is not only about addition, it's also about substitution. Hidden sodium is the #1 enemy of your arteries, not the table salt you can see. The invisible sodium in cold cuts, hard cheeses, industrial soups, bottled sauces, ready-made meals, salted crackers, industrial bread. Read the labels. The simple rule is to aim for less than 5 grams of sodium per day in total. And to get there without sacrificing flavor, replace salt with fresh herbs, parsley, chives, basil, thyme, which carry their own anti-inflammatory properties. Also reduce saturated fats and trans fats, not because they directly raise blood pressure, but because they contribute to the accumulation of oxidized LDL cholesterol in arterial walls, that inflammatory adhesive plaque I described at the very beginning. Less fatty cold cuts, less fried food, less industrial biscuits and pastries, not as punishment, as an informed choice. Marguerite came back to see me 3 months after our first consultation. She had her blood pressure notebook. She placed it on the desk with that same small smile, but this time it was wider. Her cardiologist had ultimately decided not only not to add a 3rd medication, but to consider reducing one of the 2 existing ones at the next evaluation. Her blood pressure was stable, regularly, not perfect every single morning, but stable, predictable, controllable. As she was leaving, she said something to me that I want to pass on to you. She said, "Doctor, what I've taken away from all of this is that my blood pressure wasn't a mystery. It was responding to what I gave it. I gave it inflammation, it went up. I give it nutrition, it calms down. It's logical, actually, and it's even reassuring, because it means I have a role to play. I'm not just a spectator of my own health." That is exactly it. You are not a spectator of your blood pressure. You are the lead actor. Let's bring it all together. Hypertension is the consequence of a chronic inflammatory state in the arteries, aggravated by a lack of protective nutrients and an excess of hidden sodium. The 10 foods I've presented to you act directly on the mechanisms of that inflammation. Garlic, beets, dark leafy greens, walnuts, fatty fish, olive oil, dark chocolate, ground flax seeds, colorful berries, and water. Each of these foods brings something precise to your arteries. Together, they create a profoundly different vascular environment, one where blood pressure can stabilize, where arteries can recover their elasticity, where the heart can beat with less effort. Here is what you need to do starting today. Choose a single food, just one, the one that feels most accessible to you, most enjoyable, easiest to weave into your daily life. Start there. 1 clove of garlic in your cooking tonight, a handful of walnuts tomorrow morning, 1 extra glass of water before each meal. These small gestures, repeated every day, build something enormous. Week by week, month by month. I am Dr. Pierre Martin. Thank you for giving me this time. If this video has changed something in the way you see your diet and your blood pressure, share it with someone who needs it. Because somewhere around you, there is someone who has been taking blood pressure medication for years and doesn't know that their plate can do part of the work. Leave me a rating from 0 to 10 in the comments. Tell me what city you're watching from. I read everything. I reply to everything. And before you go, stay one more moment. In the next video, I'm going to reveal something surprising. There is a drink that millions of people consume every single day, believing it is excellent for their health. But this drink does exactly the opposite of what they think. It constricts vessels, it retains sodium, it silently worsens hypertension. Which drink is it? Subscribe and turn on notifications. You truly do not want to miss this. Take care of yourself. Take care of your arteries. They carry your life in every single beat.